Hello from Zambia. It's my first time in Zambia, and I've heard wonderful things about this country. Zambia is located in southern Central Africa, and it gets its name from the Zambezi River, what I have a view of right now. The Zambezi is the fourth longest river in Africa, and it creates the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. So over there on the other side is actually Zimbabwe. I'm currently in Livingston, and I'm staying in this amazing open-air chalet perched on the cliff overlooking the Batoka Gorge. It's called Taita Falcon Lodge, and this is one of the most incredible views I've ever had anywhere I've stayed. This trip to Africa has been such a hit for great views from lodges. I just finished a week and a half in Botswana. If you haven't seen that video yet, I will have it linked in the description. And I had some pretty awesome views there as well. I can look over the Zambezi from the shower, the bathtub, and I'm just downriver from one of the landmarks of the entire African continent, Victoria Falls, which is what I'm here to see. Victoria Falls is one of the largest waterfalls in the world, stretching over a mile across the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. I visited the Zambia side for sunrise, but because the Zimbabwe portion is much larger, I decided to walk across the border. This is my first time crossing an international border on foot. You do still need your passport to do this. And if you're planning a trip, water levels are at their highest from February to May, but the mist can be so thick then that you might not be able to see through it. So other seasons can be nice as well. I visited in July, which had medium water levels, and I was still wiping water off of my camera lens. I've arrived at South Luangwa National Park here in Zambia for the safari portion of my time here. And from what I've heard, it sounds like Zambia is still a lesser known gem when it comes to safari. I probably wouldn't have thought to come here if it wasn't for Safari Frank, who I've partnered with on this itinerary. They recommended adding this to my itinerary because of the wildlife here, especially the potential to see leopards. South Luangwa National Park is nicknamed the Valley of the Leopard because it has one of the highest densities of leopards in the world, which is what you're going to want if you set off to find one, because leopards can be very shy and they like to rest in trees where they're well camouflaged. They're also solitary, so unlike lion prides that are easier to spot as a group, leopards are usually alone. That being said, my guide was absolutely incredible and was able to track down a leopard on every single drive we went on, and I have to say, cats will be cats. You can see this beautiful leopard relaxing in a tree, but then if you look closer, you'll see he's snoozing on a snack, because of course the secret ingredient to a meal is to nap on it first, which is also something my cat at home would do. It's the most cat-like behavior. Something else that was really cool to see was the relationship between leopards and hyenas in this park. Hyenas here survive mostly from scavenging off of leopards, and more than once when we found a leopard in a tree, there were hyenas hanging around at the bottom, knowing that as the leopard ate its way through its meal, scraps would fall. We also found lots of lions in this park, and another interesting species interaction I saw was a couple of lions trying to cross a river. Lions are the top of the food chain here on land, but in water, the tables turn. These two males were trying to cross in hippo territory, and the hippos were not having it. And it was interesting to see the apex predator of this region suddenly be wary of what is usually their prey. Tonight I'm doing something so cool. I've seen photos of this type of experience online for years, and I've always wanted to do it. The rooms at this lodge are luxury tented suites, and they're so beautiful. It's basically like a nice hotel room, but the walls are canvas. But one of the tents has a special addition next to it, which is the Sleep Out Starbed experience. So tonight, in addition to my regular tent, I have this starbed platform with this giant bed where I get to sleep under the open night sky. And there are animals everywhere around this platform. Just now, as I was walking up, in one of these bushes just right here, there were 2 lions sleeping. So it's definitely immersive, and it's a new moon, so the stars will be really bright and the Milky Way will be out. The lodge I stayed at here in South Luangwa is Chikunto Safari Lodge, which is beautiful, and my morning and afternoon game drives were included in my stay. So every morning at sunrise, my guide and I would head into the park for a few hours, then return to the lodge for lunch and relaxation, then go out again in the afternoon until sunset. Something unique about South Luangwa is you're allowed to stay in the park after dark, which is great because sunrise and sunset are the best times to see animals. So if you see something great at sunset, you can stay out as long as you want. We really saw a lot in this park. Tons of elephants. I love when they wade into the water to drink because when they come out, they all look like they're wearing boots. We even spotted a couple elephants fighting, which was a first for me. And of course, we saw giraffes. They're hard to miss, and I have to say, a giraffe drinking is one of the cutest things you'll ever see. They're very timid about it because lowering their neck makes them vulnerable to predators, but once they're ready, they splay their front legs out to reach the water, and it's just adorable. So I have some packing tips if you're coming to do an African safari, especially an extended safari like I've done. In total, this trip for me, including travel days on either end, was nearly 3 weeks, and I stressed a bit with packing, and I ended up being really happy with how I did it. Oftentimes, the easiest way to get around this region and to get to these remote lodges is by tiny plane, and I had a lot of tiny plane flights in this itinerary, but tiny planes have very strict luggage size and weight requirements, and my camera bag alone ate up about 70% of my weight allowance, so I knew I was going to have to pack smart. So first, I used a regular lightweight duffel bag. This is what the tiny planes want you to use because their luggage compartments can be pretty shallow and hard-sided suitcases sometimes just won't fit. They need to be able to push and squish the bags around to get everything in there. This is the Patagonia Black Hole Duffel in the 55-liter size, and I've been very happy with it. I see why these are so popular. And then for clothing, I focused on items that I could wear many times without washing or wash easily. Specifically, merino wool and linen. Merino wool is one of the best fabrics for travel because it doesn't hold odors. These pieces are designed to be worn for a week backpacking. I've worn this shirt honestly probably 7 days on this trip and I haven't washed it and it doesn't smell at all. I promise. So packing a few merino wool shirts really allowed me to cut down on the volume of clothing I was bringing. That being said, all of the lodges I stayed at on this trip did have complimentary laundry service, so that it is an option. I just didn't want to be sending out laundry all the time, especially because I was moving around quite a bit. And then my other packing tip, if you come during winter, which is June, July, August here, be prepared for hot days and cold nights. There really is a temperature swing, so make sure you're packing warm pieces as well. In the mornings on the game drives in an open air vehicle, it can be very cold, but then by the afternoon, it's shorts and a t-shirt weather. Well, this is the end of my trip. I am so thrilled with how this trip has gone. I've seen so many amazing things, so much wildlife. The fact that I saw something interesting every single time I went out here, I think speaks to the density of the wildlife here, and of course the expertise of the guides. If you want to see the exact details of this trip, where I went, where I stayed, all of that, I'm going to have a link to the itinerary I did with Safari Frank in the description. Huge thank you to them for putting this together. If you want to come do this trip or modify it in some way or do a completely different trip, they're really good at designing something tailored to your interests. So now it's time for me to begin the very long journey home. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.